Morning, everybody. I've had a couple of questions come up, and I made a couple of comments in my previous videos about Jesus being in the Quran, so I'm just going to give you some quick references. I'm actually not going to read the Quran like I've done in the past. I don't think I should give it credit. But I am going to give you the chapter and verse where you can find it if you want to do your own research, so have a pen ready if you want. Basically, there's like 25 occurrences of Jesus in the Quran. Muhammad is only mentioned by name 5 times, but he's mentioned as messenger of God, other terminology. But I think Jesus has probably got a lot more reference. It's not a biography about Muhammad. It's a collection of truths, quote unquote. So, Jesus is actually referred to as Isa, or Isa, I-S-A, which is Aramaic in the Quran. It agrees with and discusses his virgin birth, his miracles, his role as a messenger of God, all of which they don't disagree with. It emphasizes that Jesus is not God, this is the Quran, and that he will return to earth near the day of judgment. So they want him back because they feel that their teaching teaches them that they will be the victor at the day of judgment. There are so many going to claim, but didn't we know you? This is one of the people groups that it's going to apply to. Can you be from any religion and be a Christian? Yes. But there's only one Christ. There's only one true way to heaven. And you're not going to find it in any other religion. Most religions teach you how to be good, how to work your way to heaven. And the Quran is a good example of that. Okay. Now the Muslims do acknowledge him as a prophet, okay, and as a messenger of God. They do not believe he was divine or the Son of God. The Quran states that Jesus himself never claimed divinity. Technically, he never used the words, I am God. But he said plenty of other things that alluded to it. He spoke that way, the way the Pharisees would understand it without actually saying it. They rent their clothes and went off screaming because of, quote, blasphemy. Kitty, what are you doing? No, Kitty. No, Kitty. He's sitting on top of my coffee pot because it gets up high enough so he can try to get into the cabinets. There's no open food up there, Kitty. He's just curious. Okay, so these are the... I'm going to butcher these because I don't speak Aramaic. Surah Al-Imran 345 to 59. This section details the angel's announcement to Mary about the birth of Christ. Yes, it's in the Quran. His miraculous conception and his role as a prophet. Remember, the Quran's written 5 to 600 AD. So the Bible's been out. And the early Christians weren't called Christians, they were just called the Way. The one way, they were called the Way. They weren't called Christians until later on. Okay, in Surah Maryam, 19:16 through 34, this chapter focuses on Mary's story, including the annunciation of Jesus' birth and his speaking from the cradle. You see these memes and cartoons and stuff of babies speaking? Yeah, I'm not sure I buy that. The Bible doesn't mention it, so therefore we really can't take somebody else's opinion because of it being written 500 years later anyway. Surah Al-Ma'idah 572 through 77. These discuss Jesus' message to the children of Israel, emphasizing his role as a prophet and the importance of following his teachings. Yes, follow Jesus' teachings. They disagree on some of the opinions of the interpretation, but they believe Jesus was a good prophet, just not the Son of God. So therefore they can follow somebody else who may claim to be that. But they're looking for him to return, just like the Jews are. Welcome, Antichrist. In Surah Al-Hadid 57:27, this verse mentions the sending of Jesus and other prophets to guide people. It does refute the divinity and the Trinity. Okay? Jesus is not part of any of that, according to the Quran. We know and we differ, but we're trying to learn what they believe. So you can be a Christian, and they shouldn't rebuke you, but they do. The Shiites have just totally misinterpreted even the Quran, because they're hateful Satan worshipers, and they're not worshiping Satan knowledgeably, but essentially that's what they're doing. They're doing Satan's bidding. They're killing the Jews and the Christians. Only Satan would want that. Surah An-Nisa 4:171. This verse clarifies that Jesus is not God, but rather a messenger of God and his word to Mary. Okay, so this is their book, their Bible, if you will, that they follow. So you can't teach them Christianity as long as they believe that their word is better than the Bible. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:116 and 17. These verses depict Jesus denying claims of divinity and affirming his worship of God alone. Okay, so this is the Quran. This isn't the Bible. Now, Jesus' return and this significance. Surah Al-Imran 3:55. These verses indicate that Jesus will return near the day of judgment, but they do not specify the exact circumstances. Surah Al-Zukhruf 43:57 to 65. This discusses Jesus' importance and his role as a sign of the day of judgment. So they're looking for him. We're in the end times. They believe they're in the end times. We are in agreement on that. Satan doesn't try to hide the obvious. He just distorts it. So you can see why we'd have some problems trying to convert Muslims if they're a firm believer in the Quran. Now, if they know their Quran history, they will know that there were some 200 to 500 copies, depending on the variations, of the Quran prior to them gathering together and deciding what would be the final one for them to all follow. And they picked the most popular one. And then they burned all the other ones, so there'd be no proof that there was ever any other version. It's called setting up the outcome. Satan's good at that. So this is why they all have basically one and they follow it. But the interpretation is even different between the two sects of Islam. The Sunnis and the Shiites don't have the same belief system. They've got a core belief that they're God's people and they're going to be blessed, and they are God's people, as is the whole world. But I mean specifically, the Jews and the Muslims are God's people because they're descendants of Abraham. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They're descendants. So they believe in the early founding fathers of the Jews. They don't believe the Jews are doing it right now, and neither did Jesus, so they're somewhat right on that. Okay, so we're not fighting a physical war, we're fighting a spiritual war, but Satan knows that we can't resist taking out a bully, and that's what the Ayatollahs have been. Now, they used to go to the beach, The women didn't have to wear the burqas. They were free to do what they wanted to do. Now, they don't like it. And if you tell somebody they don't like it, they disappear. They kill them. They make a spectacle of anybody who disagrees. That's not how you keep people and win friends. That's how you be a dictator. So the Ayatollahs, they need to die. But the problem is, that's going to create a vacuum. What do you put in that vacuum? We've tried it before. Remember the Shah of Iran. Didn't go over good. So we've got to make sure that that's why the President of the United States says he doesn't want a regime change. He's not using those words. But he's saying the people have to decide. Well, as soon as they get to the point where they can decide, maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Politics being what it is, they may not get someone better, they may get someone worse. This is the end time, so Satan would rather have his guy in there than somebody else. So we'll wait and see. But anyhow, they're very devout religious fanatics. We've got cult Christians that go door to door. So we know what fanaticism is. They're wrong in their belief system. Their core belief system doesn't believe Jesus is proper in their frame of mind. So, you can't argue with them. If you want to go head-to-head with one of our cults, you better study for a few weeks on it, because they have. And they have their comeback verses. And they might make you doubt. Same with the Quran. Don't try discussing things with them. The best people that I've seen, and I don't know where they went. There was one guy who was a scholar, wrote a number of books on it. He was a Muslim and he converted to Christianity, and he can tell you where all the skeletons are. I can't find him on YouTube. They may have banned him because I can't find him. And I've tried searches, all kinds of things. Can't find him. But he had some of the early version Qurans. The various versions that there supposedly don't exist anymore. He had some. Wish I could find him. If anybody knows of a good Christian Muslim scholar, drop me a note down below. I'd like to check them out. All right. So be safe. We are in the end times. The rapture is soon. Tomorrow we're going to talk about some of the AI stuff that's out there. That is wrong. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.